What happened to WhyBeAre? Well, I'm here to tell you what happened to WhyBeAre. First, a quick bit of background information. This is my microphone. It's an Electro Voice RE20. Like all good microphones, it uses an XLR output. An XLR cable looks like this. Now, no normal computer can take an XLR cable directly, so in order to attach this to my computer, I need something in addition to the cable itself and the microphone. Something like this. This is a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, and it's what I've been using for quite some time in order to do just that. Basically, the way it works is you get the XLR cable, you plug it into the front right there, and then out the back you'll have a plug that you can plug into the USB port of your computer, and just like that, the microphone is now detected by your computer. So here's the problem. I noticed once or twice a minute, there would be a small drop in audio. And I do mean really, really small, so it would just kind of sound like a pop in the middle of my words. And it was really annoying whenever it happened, so I wanted to fix it. First thing I needed to figure out, is it my microphone that's causing this? So to test that, I plugged in my extra microphone I use for VR that attaches to my head, and it had the exact same issue. So with that, I basically determined it wasn't the microphone that was causing the issue, and it was probably going to be this. But to further test that idea, I went ahead and plugged it into my server over there, and the exact same issue is happening. So that basically took out the possibility of it being the computer itself. And I also used a different USB cable. So the only thing that was the same in all of those tests was the interface. So I decided, let's go ahead and replace it. Now I have a few options for the replacement. I could just go ahead and get another Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. Problem is that's already my second one. I've had a little bit of a reliability issue with this thing, and I'm not about to buy a third one when I've already blown through two of them in a pretty short time span. So I decided, let's go ahead and buy something completely different. I buy it, it arrives, it's dead on arrival. So I shipped that back, and I decided to buy this. It's a Roland Octacapture. So I got it, plugged it into my computer, installed the drivers, and then I went and got lunch, which is actually important to the story. So I got lunch, came back, and then I did a quick 20-minute test video with this thing to see if it would work, and it turned out it had the exact same issue. This really baffled me, so I decided, okay, is it my computer after all? So I grabbed this, plug it into my server, and do a quick 10-minute test video immediately after I plug it in, and there is no issue at all. So the obvious conclusion to this is there's something wrong with my gaming computer. My first thought, it's probably my motherboard. Why? Because it's been broken for a long time. For example, this Ethernet port right here, it doesn't work. And it's not like it's a driver issue or something like that. It's simply not detected by any OS. So for a while, I used the wireless adapter that ASUS includes on their motherboards that are higher end. That even had an issue, though, where only one of these three plugs actually functioned. So I was running at a third of the speed I was supposed to be running, which was annoying to me when I was doing local file transfers to my server. So to fix that issue, I actually just went and bought a dual gigabit Ethernet card, and you plug that into a PCI port, and it worked perfectly fine. I didn't need to replace the motherboard, and this was a lot cheaper than a new motherboard. Additionally, I noticed when I was playing games with my controller that sometimes the controller would just be dropped. And when I'd be typing something, characters I swear I typed wouldn't be there. Or when I'm moving my mouse around, sometimes it would just stop moving. All of these sound like issues with the USB plug, so I decided let's replace the motherboard. Now, I don't have an extra X99 motherboard just laying around, so I had to go and buy one. I install it. The issue is still there. Now, I do have sticks of RAM just lying around, so I go ahead and try a different set of RAM, like maybe the memory's bad, and that's why it's dropping it. Nope, the issue is still there. At least with the audio. I didn't do any testing on my controllers and mouse and keyboard because my goal here was to fix the audio being dropped. So what parts have I yet to replace? Well, first, we have the case. The case is a Corsair 600Q. It's a well-known manufacturer, and it's a well-known model of theirs. And I looked online, there was no information about it causing crazy short-circuit issues on the motherboard or anything like that, so I really doubt the case was causing the issue. So we move on to the SSD. To test this, I simply recorded to the other SSD I have, and then I even tested it on a RAM drive, which totally takes the SSDs out of the equation, and it gives you a ridiculously fast medium to record to. Same issue. So at that point, pretty sure it's not the SSD. So then we go to the GPU, and I go to the GPU next because it's really easy for me to swap this out for another one. So I take my two 980 Ti's and I swap it out for my old GTX 285. Issue still there, so I swap the GPUs back, and then we go on to the last part, which is the CPU. Now the CPU I had in there is actually a really good one. It was a 596DX, and it was a great overclocker. I had this thing running stable at 4.4 gigahertz at a pretty low voltage, and it worked amazingly. Although it wouldn't boot like 80% of the time. Once it booted, it was solid and never blue screened or anything like that. But anyways, I decided, all right, what's the best CPU I can get for the motherboard I have? That would be a 6950X, which is a 10-core model versus this 8-core. And I install that. And then I decided to do a quick test run. So I go ahead and turn on my computer, turn on the OctaCapture, and then just record a quick 10-minute video. And finally, the issue is gone. It finally works, and I am so happy. So I go and I try to get a stable overclock with this, do some testing here and there, kind of get a small overclock, but I'm really not happy with the 6950X's overclock, and I'm still not happy at this point in time. But I go ahead and say, all right, this is good enough. It seems like it's stable. Let's record a video. So I go and I record the video, and the audio issue is there. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe overclocking is somehow causing it. Even though I did test my old CPU at the non-overclocked rates, maybe just this CPU in particular, the overclock causes the issue. Turn off the overclock on the new CPU. Do another recording. The issue's there. The issue's there. It's like I've replaced everything and the issue's there. What's going on here? Well, after outrage, I plug it back into my server, go and get lunch, come back, test it on my server. It acts up that time, but not the other time. Why? Because it's stable for like the first 15 minutes. After that, it starts to act up. And coincidentally, it had the exact same issue as my Scarlett 2i2. The most outrageous circumstances led up to this unbelievable confusion. The good news is, though, I've actually been able to test the USB ports for my mouse and keyboard and controller. Those are at least fixed. So I fixed a legitimate issue and I didn't just blow money on a minor upgrade. But it took me so long to figure that out. So, what did I do after all that? Well, I go out and I buy this. It's a Motu 8 Pre. So I go ahead and install the driver, plug it into my computer, and I've learned my lesson here. We do a 3-hour test. I come back after 3 hours, look at the audio file it recorded, and it's clean. I finally have something that records audio without dropping it. And I was curious, is my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 actually broken, or was it something with the computer? So I test it on my all fresh and upgraded computer. The issue's still there. But then I started thinking about it. The issue on this appeared around the same time where the mouse, controller, and keyboard dropping all started. So I wouldn't be surprised if this thing got damaged when the USB was dropping. Like somehow the voltage or something just made something internally go wrong. Because this thing is powered purely by USB. And the timing is just so close. It could be a coincidence, but I wouldn't be surprised. As for this one, you already know the story on that guy. Well, actually, he's backwards. Hold on. There we go. Now you can see. Now you know what it is. You see the name on it now. So in the end, I have a ton of audio interfaces just sitting around now. But I have one that works. And if you're wondering why I bought something with 8 preamps, I actually have a really good reason. And if you do not know what a preamp is, just think of it as a plug for a microphone. That's a huge oversimplification of it. But for simplicity's sake, if you know very little about audio and you don't know what a preamp is, that's what you can think about it because that's what my main use case is. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and spin this around to show you. We have 8 plugs for microphones. Plug number 1, that's for my microphone I have attached to my desk. Plug number 2, that's for my microphone I attach to my face. Why do I need 2 separate plugs? Just because it's a nice convenience to have them both plugged in at the same time. I don't have to worry about swapping them out and maybe getting a cable halfway plugged in so I waste the whole recording or something like that. It'll always be plugged in and the gain level will always be set correctly so it's not going to run too loud or too quiet or anything like that. Plug number 3. This is where things are getting interesting. Well, how many microphones does one WhyBeAre need? Just 2. The third microphone wouldn't be for me. I've had a lot of people who say they want to record a video with me. So if I ever do actually do that, I should have the hardware ready to go. So if I had 3 people with me, that's 5 plugs that would be taken up. So I needed something with at least 5 plugs, I figured. And you can't get a 5-plug system, so 8-plug, I figured, would have to do it. Also, I might be doing some dumb things with this. And if you follow me on Twitter, you already know what this is and what it's for, probably. If you don't, well, let me explain. This is a synthesizer. Basically, it's a really fancy keyboard that can do all kinds of different sounds. So it can do like drums, it can do brass, it can do strings, it can do keyboard, and it can even do a vocoder. if you wanted to. So you can sound like a robot and all that. And the reason I bought this is because I was thinking about doing some outros. Now, intros to me are just kind of lame. Like if you click on a video, you're not clicking on it to see an intro. You're clicking on it to see the content. An outro is a little bit different though. Like if you watch one of my videos all the way through, it's pretty safe to say you at least somewhat like the video. So an outro to me makes sense saying, hey, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And this is WhyBeAre, don't forget it. Because at that point in time, I would think you'd at least have a little bit interest in my videos and not just the content of that specific video. Now, on those outros, you could have silent, you could have just talking, or you could have talking with music. And I could go and just buy music. Where's the fun in that? That's not fun. You know what's fun? Making your own music that's intentionally bad. Why is it intentionally bad? I don't know. But for some reason, when I'm making a really, really disgusting beat that makes me want to cover my ears up, I can't stop giggling. Like when I listen to it, I just can't stop giggling. It's like, oh my God, this is so bad. Oh, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe other people out there will be the same as me, or maybe everybody will just be like, oh my God, stop. Why has he done this? What is he thinking? But either way, for me, I think it'd just be something fun and dumb to do because I could have a different like outro song in every single video because I could bash out a really awful tune in like 2 minutes flat. It's actually a really nice system the way it works. It's a Roland JDXI, and with the like beat maker thing, even an idiot like me, or the pattern sequencer, even an idiot like me can make something that actually goes to a beat. It'll sound awful because I have no idea when to use the drums and when to use the synth and all that, but it's fun. Anyways, that'll do it for the WhyBeAre update of fun. So until next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I'll see ya.